In a sudden turn of events, former United States President Donald Trump has taken the initiative to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. This move has caught many by surprise, given Trump's controversial tenure and his often polarizing approach to international diplomacy. This unexpected move comes amidst heightened global tensions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The conflict has resulted in significant loss of life and displacement of millions, creating a humanitarian crisis that has drawn global condemnation. Trump's decision to engage directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent shockwaves through the international community, raising both hopes and fears about the future of the conflict and the broader geopolitical landscape. Many are questioning whether Trump's unique brand of diplomacy can achieve what traditional methods have not. The world watches with bated breath as these two powerful leaders attempt to find common ground on one of the most pressing issues of our time. The stakes are incredibly high, and the potential outcomes are varied and unpredictable. Trump's peace initiative is seen by some as a bold and necessary step to end the bloodshed in Ukraine. Supporters argue that his willingness to take risks and think outside the box could be exactly what is needed to break the stalemate. They argue that only through direct dialogue between the United States and Russia can a lasting solution be found. The hope is that Trump's direct approach will cut through the diplomatic red tape that has hindered progress so far. Others, however, view Trump's move with skepticism and concern. Critics worry that his unpredictable nature and past controversies could complicate the already delicate situation. They point to his past dealings with Putin and his perceived closeness to the Russian leader as reasons to doubt his true intentions. Some fear that Trump's personal interests may overshadow the broader goal of achieving peace. Critics also worry that Trump's willingness to negotiate with Putin without preconditions could embolden the Russian leader and lead to further aggression. The concern is that this approach might be seen as a sign of weakness, potentially encouraging more bold moves from Russia. The stakes are incredibly high as Trump and Putin sit down at the negotiating table. The outcome of these talks could set a precedent for future international conflicts and negotiations. The outcome of these talks could have far-reaching implications not only for Ukraine but for the future of global security and stability. A successful negotiation could pave the way for a new era of diplomacy, while failure could deepen the crisis. The world is watching closely to see if Trump can succeed where others have failed and bring an end to this devastating conflict. The hopes of millions rest on the shoulders of these negotiations. The success or failure of Trump's peace initiative will depend on a number of factors, including the willingness of both sides to compromise and the level of trust between the two leaders. The international community remains cautiously optimistic. It remains to be seen if Trump can overcome the deep divisions that have fueled this conflict and forge a path towards a peaceful resolution. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining the future of this initiative and its impact on global peace. One of the most controversial aspects of Trump's peace initiative is the exclusion of Ukraine from the initial talks. This decision has sparked a significant amount of debate and criticism from various quarters, both domestically and internationally. Critics argue that this is a fatal flaw that undermines the legitimacy of the entire process. They believe that without Ukraine's participation, any agreement reached would lack the necessary foundation to be effective and enduring. They contend that no peace agreement can be sustainable or just without the direct involvement and consent of the Ukrainian government. The Ukrainian leadership has repeatedly emphasized the importance of being part of any negotiations that concern their nation's future. Excluding Ukraine from the talks, critics say, sends a dangerous message that its fate can be decided by outside powers without its input. This not only undermines Ukraine's sovereignty, but also sets a troubling precedent for international diplomacy. This not only disrespects Ukraine's sovereignty, but also risks creating a settlement that does not address the root causes of the conflict. Without addressing these fundamental issues, any peace agreement is likely to be fragile and short-lived. A peace agreement imposed on Ukraine without its consent is likely to be met with resistance and could even lead to a resurgence of violence. The Ukrainian people and their government have made it clear that they will not accept any deal that is forced upon them. Proponents of Trump's approach argue that excluding Ukraine from the initial stages of the talks is necessary to create a more conducive environment for progress. They believe that starting with direct negotiations between the major powers can help to lay the groundwork for a more comprehensive peace process. They maintain that direct talks between the United States and Russia are essential to address the broader geopolitical issues at play, such as NATO expansion and security guarantees. These issues, they argue, must be resolved to create a stable and lasting peace in the region. Once these issues are resolved, they say, Ukraine can be brought in to negotiate the specific terms of a peace agreement. This phased approach, they argue, is more pragmatic and likely to yield better results in the long run. The exclusion of Ukraine from the talks has also drawn sharp criticism from European allies, who feel sidelined and ignored by the United States. European leaders have expressed their concerns about being left out of a process that has significant implications for the continent's security and stability. They argue that any peace agreement must be reached through a multilateral framework that includes all stakeholders, including Ukraine and its European partners. Only through such an inclusive process, they believe, can a truly lasting and just peace be achieved. Trump's willingness to consider concessions on Ukraine's NATO membership has further inflamed tensions with European allies, who see this as a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy. This move has raised concerns about the future of the transatlantic alliance, which has been a bedrock of European security for decades. NATO, a cornerstone of European security for decades, is facing its biggest test since the end of the Cold War. The alliance, which was formed to counter Soviet aggression, now finds itself at a crossroads. Many in Europe view Trump's stance on NATO as a betrayal of the alliance's core principle of collective defense. They argue that this principle is essential for maintaining peace and stability in the region. They fear that by appeasing Putin on Ukraine's NATO aspirations, Trump is weakening the alliance and emboldening Russia to further aggression. This could have far-reaching consequences for the security of Europe. The credibility of NATO's security guarantees is now in question, potentially leaving other Eastern European members vulnerable to Russian pressure. This uncertainty is causing anxiety among NATO's eastern flank. Trump's supporters, on the other hand, argue that NATO expansion has been a source of tension with Russia. They believe that the alliance's growth has provoked Moscow and contributed to the current crisis. They suggest that scaling back the alliance's ambitions could help to de-escalate the conflict. This perspective advocates for a more restrained approach to NATO's role in Eastern Europe. They believe that a more pragmatic approach to Russia is needed, one that recognizes Russia's security concerns and seeks to find common ground. This could potentially lead to a more stable and peaceful Europe. The debate over NATO's future is likely to intensify as the peace talks progress. Both sides of the argument have valid points, and the outcome will shape the future of European security. The outcome of these talks could have significant implications for the future of European security and the transatlantic alliance. A strong and united NATO is crucial for deterring aggression and maintaining peace. A weakened or divided NATO would be a major victory for Putin and a significant setback for the West. The stakes are high, and the decisions made in the coming months will be pivotal for the region's stability. Rare earth minerals are, well, essential for modern technology. They are used in everything from smartphones to electric vehicles. As demand for these resources grows, so does the need to protect them. Air defense systems play a crucial role in safeguarding mining operations and supply chains. These systems can detect and neutralize threats from the air, ensuring that the extraction and transportation of rare earth minerals can continue without interruption. In a world where technology and resources are deeply intertwined, securing these minerals is, without a doubt, a top priority. As the dust settles, we find ourselves pondering a crucial question. Are we witnessing the birth of a new world order? The shifting alliances and emerging powers suggest a landscape that is increasingly complex and unpredictable. But what does this mean for global stability and peace? In the midst of these changes, cracks are starting to show in long-standing alliances. Nations that once stood shoulder to shoulder are now finding themselves at odds over key issues. This growing discord could have far-reaching consequences, altering the balance of power in unexpected ways. With tensions rising, the specter of a new Cold War looms large. The world seems to be dividing into camps once again, with rivalries reminiscent of a bygone era. Could we be on the brink of another prolonged period of geopolitical tension? Only time will tell, but the signs are certainly troubling. So, what lies ahead for Ukraine and the world? The road to recovery and peace is fraught with challenges but also opportunities. As nations navigate this uncertain future, the decisions made today will shape the world for generations to come. The stakes have never been higher, and the world watches with bated breath.